Let's talk about it. Homestead Act, a special act of Congress that made public lands in the West available to settlers without payment, usually in lots of 160 acres of land to be used as farms. A new law established a threefold homestead acquisition process: file an application, improve the land, and file for a deed of title. Bruh. Meaning they didn't even have titles, bro. They didn't have the appropriate titles then, right? Check this out. I'm gonna prove that too. Pretty much they saying anybody that never bared arms against the United States government can claim 160 acres of surveyed government land, right? After the Civil War, this meant the ex-Confederate soldiers were ineligible, right? In all, some 270 million acres, 109 million hectares were distributed under the 1862 Homestead Act. The act remained in effect for more than a century, and the last claim made under it granted in 1988.
Through an act of Congress, our government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and the Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor.
What happened before 1862? In 1830, they did removal acts, right? Former known as the Indian Removal Act. Hold on before I get into details on it. Don't be fooled though. We're not talking about these Mongolians and $5 Indians that's on the reservation now today. Because I'm going to show y'all something else during the Census Acts where they moved all the black people off those reservations. So when I do this video on the Census Act, it's going to prove that too, that they was removing anybody that was too dark off the Indian reservations. They weren't only doing that, they was doing removal acts, moving them off the lands, right? This is where you get like stuff like the Trail of Tears and all this stuff from, right? President Jackson granted unsettled lands west of the Mississippi in exchange for Indians' lands within existing state borders. Bro, that don't even make sense. I'm going to show you why. Because of acts like this, legislations like this. You know what I'm saying? This became known as a Land Grab Act. This was in 1783. Bro. This is trickery right here, man. So I'm going to show you. They got the land through its sheet principles, right? So the reversion of property to the state, or in feudal law to the lord on the owner dying without legal heirs, right? So remember my last video, I talked about how George Washington cut the cherry tree and they cut our inheritance. They cut our heritage, right? So we supposed to be the successors, and they're using the treaty as a trust to gain access to the land. But they can't do that because they got to go through a Moroccan state government, right? So protections in Morocco. The right to hold property is recognized in Morocco as belonging to all foreigners. The purchase of property must take place with the previous consent of the government. These rights and protections is in Morocco though. Just remember that. So Moroccan government. And the title of such property shall be subject to the forms prescribed by the laws of the country. By the Qadi. So this treaty was basically for privileges for Moroccans employed by foreign government, which is where the protege system, to give powers and ownership of Moroccan lands that they had seized, right? Meaning it wasn't their land, right? So you know it wasn't their land. Void ab initio. Void from the beginning. You can't keep it now. To hold. This is why they don't even call deeds. They call them warranty deeds. So they can outlaw it out of contract. That's why they don't call it estate. They call it real estate to outlaw it out of country. They got to go through a Qadi and the Moroccan state government to have ownership.